Welcome everyone, and thank you to the joint meeting between the Nash County Public Schools Board of Education and the Nash County Commissioners. It is always a great time to hear about the wonderful things we're doing in our school district. I am delighted to be here along with our board, and we'll start with Chairman Davis if you want to go ahead and call the meeting to order.
Thank you, ma'am. This time I'll call the Nash County Board of Commissioners recess meeting from September the 23rd back to order.
At this time, I'll call the Nash County Board of Education's joint meeting to order. And now we will hear from Dr. Stephen Ellis.
So good evening.
Good evening.
I thought I saw Dr. Tribula somewhere, but I wanted to at least thank him for hosting this event. I think they have a volleyball game going on, so he's got better things to do, I guess. So, good evening again. I'm gonna go straight to the agenda and kind of let you know where we're gonna. Tremaine, is there a certain button you want me to hit, or did I break it? Oh, there you go. All right, so tonight's agenda, what I want to do is we're going to do a welcome. Thank you is just thank you for all your support. And I think I've said many years since we started that when we're all a unified group together, we can make a lot of good things happen. And I think you're going to hear tonight a lot of good things from Nash County Public Schools, and it's because your support, your efforts, and I just want to thank you on behalf of our cabinet. We're going to go over some district updates. We've got some highlights, and if there's any questions at the end, please feel free to ask. What I'm going to do is I have some members of cabinet. They're going to go over each one of these individually, and then we'll move along. And we're going to talk about tonight the academic services, facilities, school safety, and then some questions about post-demerger. So at this time, I believe Ms. Nancy Smith will come up here and do a highlights on academics.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I enthusiastically would like to share with you that last year, our students had a banner year. And this is evidenced in our 23-24 test data. But before we start showing test data, I do want to share with you the business rules. Every school in North Carolina earns a school performance grade. 80% of that grade comes from EOGs, middle school math, EOCs, and our EL progress. In high schools, it's also EOCs, ACTs, work keys, math course rigor, EL progress, and the cohort graduation rate. 20% of our school performance grade comes from growth. And you'll see that in elementary and middle school, it's all EOGs. In our high schools, it's math, Math 3, English 2, and our EOCs. I do want to point out that this chart actually shows Nash County's ranking based on the number of low-performing schools that we have in our district. There are 115 school districts in the state. Only 6 school districts have improved their position on the low-performing district list every year since 2018-2019. And I am pleased to say that Nash County Public Schools has been one of those districts. So in 18-19, you will see that Nash County Public Schools ranked 108 out of 115 school districts. So what that means is the majority of our schools were low performing. In 21-22, we were 97th. In 22-23, we were 78th. And this year, we were 33rd, up 75 positions as far as the percentage of schools that are low performing in our district. I do want to share with you also that the other districts that had this accomplishment were Bertie County, Northampton County, New Hanover, Chatham, and Union County. At this time, I will ask Dr. Tim Mudd to come forward, and he will dig more into our data.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Timothy Mudd. I'm the Executive Director of Accountability, Research and Innovation for Nash County Public Schools. I want to just talk a little bit about some of the highlights from the past school year that we can celebrate through the accomplishment of our students, teachers, administrators, and with the support of both boards present tonight. So first, we have a trend of school performance grade rankings or school performance grades over the past 3 years, with the column on the right being the past most recent year. And you can see through the colors and through the letter grades that there has been a steady increase over the past 3 years in terms of the number of schools that are meeting or exceeding growth, which would be closing down achievement gaps and accelerating learning for students, and also the number of schools that are increasing their school performance grade and score. So that would be more schools receiving A's, B's, and C's versus schools that weren't. And that kind of mirrors what Ms. Dancy Smith just mentioned in terms of the increases in the number of schools that are not low performing. So there are about 2,600 schools in the state that receive a school performance score every year. And year over year, only about 25% of those schools are able to maintain an increase from one year to the next. Last year, Nash County Public Schools had nearly half of our schools for 2 consecutive years increase their school performance scores, which is a tremendous achievement compared to other schools in the state that are kind of stuck in an up and down method every single year. In addition, those same 2,600 schools receive a growth status, so that's does not meet growth, meets growth, exceeds growth. And every year, only about 25% of those schools across the state exceed growth multiple years in a row. That's a tremendous accomplishment because every year you're exceeding growth, it becomes more difficult because you have to continue to achieve at higher levels. And so last year, 33% of the schools in Nash County Public Schools were able to achieve exceeding growth status for consecutive years. Schools that do it 3 years in a row are even more rare. Obviously, that's less than 10% of the schools in the state. Nash County Public Schools had 3 schools last year that it was their 3rd consecutive year of exceeding growth. So that was the Early College, City High School, and Edwards Middle School. In terms of closing achievement gaps and improving equitable outcomes for all students, that's one of the goals of the district, is to increase subgroup performance for all subgroups. And I'm happy to report that last year, every single subgroup that's measured in the state for Nash County Public Schools showed increases in achievement and proficiency. And we've highlighted some of those that had some of the highest gains in the past year. In addition, we had some schools that had exceptional years in terms of proficiency, so just have some of the highest proficiency rankings in the state. And so for elementary school, there are about 1,500 schools that have some type of elementary grades 3 through 5. Not every school is K-5 and 6-8 like we have them here in Nash County. But Bailey Elementary, Coopers Elementary specifically had some really high marks in terms of proficiency. The schools that are highlighted in green up on the screen here were schools that are in the top 10% of all the schools in the state for that grade level and for that subject area. Additionally, for our high schools, we had a number of schools that also performed well across the state in a number of different subjects, from cohort graduation rate to EOCs and EOGs across the board. And you can see Early College and City High School are standout schools for our district across the state in terms of what they're able to accomplish. And if you get a little bit more specific in terms of growth, so again, growth is measured by exceeding, does not meet, or meets growth, exceeding being the highest, obviously, in the goal that you're trying to get to in terms of closing achievement gaps. And so while proficiency may be a little lower in some schools, if we can close those gaps and increase performance compared to other schools within the state, then obviously we'll be able to make up that ground. And so I'm happy to report that 12 schools in Nash County Public Schools were ranked in the top 25% of all schools in the state in terms of the amount of growth that their students made last year. So again, 2,600 schools in the state, We had 12 schools that were in the top 25%, including, 4 schools in the top 6% of all schools in the state, with Southern Nash Middle School being a standout as one of the top schools in the state, top 1%, ranked 26th out of 2,600 schools in terms of the amount of growth that their students made last year. So just a tremendous job across the district. And if you look at the schools, it's elementary, middle school, high school, it's north, south, east, west of the district. It's across the board that students made progress. Same thing goes if you break it down specifically into math and reading. So we had 7 schools in the top 20% of the state just for math-specific growth, and you can see those there, including 5 schools in the top 10% across the state. Same thing for ELA. We had 8 schools in the top 25% of the state for ELA-specific growth. One thing I should mention about the ELA growth for the specific schools here, it's only the state only provides this ranking for, or this measurement for kindergarten through 8th grade, so the high schools aren't included. That's why there's only 2,000 schools here across the state. But we had 8 of those schools in the top 25% across the state. And then a CTE opportunity. So Mr. Thompson is going to come up and talk about some of the CTE accomplishments across the district as well. So thank you.
So good evening. I am Chad Thompson, the Executive Director for Career and Technical Education and Workforce Development for Nash County Schools. As you all know, and I work with many of you on different meetings and boards, and careers and building careers are more important today than ever before, and that's what we do. And so you heard the great things that we're doing right now with academics. Leading into CTE, we have some great accomplishments as well that we wanted to share with you tonight, and one being our work-based learning opportunities. Work-based learning opportunities means that we give students opportunities to go out and practice the work before they actually move into a particular career. And so if you look at our numbers from the past years, from 22-23, we were at 53 students. Last year, we talked to our board and said, we want to be 100 plus, and these would include internships, pre-apprenticeships, job shadowing, and advanced studies. So our projection was 100 plus, but we hit 215 last year. And so this year we have set a goal at 300 plus. And the reason we feel like that's so important because we feel like if our students have an opportunity to go out and work and practice, they have more of a chance to really choose what they like to do and stay within that job field. The next thing I would like to share with you is credentialing. So if you do not know, we offer credentials before students get out of high school. And what that means is a student will leave high school and have a credential. Just right here at this school, we have what's called ASE. If you go and have your car worked on at any dealership, you'll see ASE certified. We send our students out here with that certification. And so we have many certifications. So I wanted to share with you in the years past, this is proficiency. So in 21-22, we were around 18%. And so each year we have moved up 24% to 43% this past year, which means that our students left with 4,015 credentials when they left our schools. And so we were very excited about that piece and the trend that we're heading on. So thank you so much. I wanted to share that information with you. Next, I would like to introduce Angie. She'll come up and talk to you about facilities.
Good evening. I'm Angie Miller, and I work with our athletics, facilities, and school nutrition. I'm going to tell you and share a few things with you, but I want to piggyback on something that Mr. Thompson said. We were very blessed in our maintenance department to get a young man, Cole Langley, from the CTE program this year because he did an internship with us and has walked into a wonderful job with lots of certifications, and he was recognized regionally for some of his work, so it's been a wonderful program. Thank you. I'm very excited to share with you a little bit about our team and what has happened here with Northern Nash Fieldhouse. This is just a little update. I hope many of you have had a chance to go and take a look at it. We are playing on the facility, and they are continually working. Hopefully we'll be finished. The plan is in February 6th of 25. They're ongoing right now, still with some fence install. We are still within budget, But you can see here the first floor structure is complete, second floor is in progress. All of this has been taking place in the last few weeks. Sidewalks, the home and the visitor entrance, and you'll see the big steel entrance as they're coming in. It's just been a beautiful progress that we've made on this, so please take a look if you go by that way. This is a little bit about the facility plan, and many of you have already seen this on our tour, but we have upgraded with the Rocky Mount Middle School tennis court upgrade, and you'll see a picture here. This was tennis courts that were in place back when it was a high school, had not been utilized, and beside of that is going to be a parking lot area, and we have upgraded many of the other athletic facilities, such as the concession stand, soccer field, which will be used for soccer and football. So it's a beautiful place to go take a look at if you've not seen it recently. The City High hallway has been turned into an 8th grade wing, and City High has been moved, and we'll show you a little bit about that in a moment. That modification was done in-house with our maintenance team. Our boys and girls locker room upgrades in the facility, the 500 wing, and the auditorium upgrades are in progress now with the handicap accessibility, lighting, and working on the seating in the auditorium, which will be used for multiple uses across our district. We actually have a graduation plan there in January. Our Williford facility plan, the media center and renovations are complete. We're utilizing this as a training facility as we speak. New HVAC system, the new parking lot on the backside near the resource center for Williford, and we utilize that on a daily basis back behind the cafeteria. Service window and card access for pre-K wing, which is a very nice safety device for our pre-K, and that's working out very well. New furniture and office upgrades and LED and building signage. They still utilize the cafeteria, or they are eating in the classroom, but we do have a cafeteria staff in place, and the Williford Training Center and the teacher resources that are in place can actually order breakfast and lunch from the cafeteria, and that's been in place for this week was the first week. Edwards Elementary facility plan, I'm going to show you a little bit. You'll see in the top right, this is a classroom that's already up and running, of course, but it just shows you some of the features. New signage, new LED lights, you can see at the entrance. Playground equipment, building signage, plumbing and painting upgrades, flooring upgrades, new entrance, and the new lighting throughout. It wasn't just in the main entrance. We did that in some of the hallways in the paint, and it looks fantastic. And many of you saw this during our tour. I shared with you that the City High Hall wing at Rocky Mount Middle School is now being utilized for our 8th grade. Then we have a mobile unit at Nash Community College. In the bottom left, you'll see there's a signage. It is a mobile unit at this time. This is the inside. You'll see this is where some of the teachers' offices, some of the training rooms are for the students, and this is our principal area as well. But it is utilized for many resources for the students. It's been a great asset, and it's working out very, very well. I'll turn it back over to Dr. Ellis.
So I'm going to put a plug in for, well, first I'm going to say we are really excited about having City on Nash Community College's campus. Click all these down real quick. But our problem is we're going to run out of space. That modular unit, I can't say trailer, is only a 2-year lease. So what we're trying to make sure, I know that Dr. Honeycutt, when we had our conversation, he has a grant, I believe he's putting in where he wants to have a new health science wing, I believe. And if we can get some of this, I'm gonna need more room because we want to grow City to 500. And when Chad comes up here and talks about career and credentialing, all that, what better place to be on the campus of Nash Community College. So there's a lot of ask, I'm sure, because I know he wants about $22 million to build a new, I believe it's a health science, yep. So I know he wants to build a high-quality health sciences wing onto Nash Community College. And I said, well, if you do that, what can I do? He said, well, then what we can do is move City High, which would be right here, we would take up another wing because he could move someone out. So I do want to put a plug in that. I know when we have our budget meeting, me and Dr. Honeycutt are going to speak on this. But the whole reason I don't believe that City High was growing is because it wasn't on a college campus. So I always feel like if you build it, they will come. I really think that the kids are excited about now being on a college campus. You know, I'm just putting a plug in for Nash Community because I really think this partnership will be the beginning of something real big for us. And I have to say kudos to our facilities. I know Mr. Fields is back there, and I'm not going to embarrass him and tell him to come up here or nothing, but I know if some of you went on that tour with us, you saw the amount of work that was done in, I don't know, 7 to 8 weeks. It was just unbelievable what they did. And it's because of that great staff we have. So, Mr. Fields, I'm going to still clap for you again. Thank you so much, because when we brought this facility plan and we discussed it, there was a lot of angst going on, like, y'all, we don't have but 8 weeks. But to think we did all this in that amount of time with our people is it's great. So thank you, Mr. Fields. School safe.
Good evening. I am Leandus Fair Jr., and I stand before you to speak with you about school safety. School safety remains a top priority for Nash County Public Schools. So to share a little bit about some of the measures that we have in place when we look at some of the hard targets, as we refer to them as, one of the things that we have is cameras. We have cameras in all of our elementary, middle, and high schools. Those cameras are internal and external. We have access control at all of the front doors of all of our schools and our auxiliary buildings. We also stress to the schools to ensure that their doors, all of the doors, are locked and closed at all times to make sure that they are not propped open. We have the Evolve weapon detection system, as you all are familiar with. We were able to bring that in during the 23-24 school year. So we're going into our second year with the use of Evolve, and those are at all of our middle and high schools. We started this year with the random wanding and screening of our elementary school students. We would love to get Evolve machines in for our elementary schools as well, so that we have that same level of security for our elementary schools. We are currently working on a grant that the state has put out for school safety equipment. The team and I met today in reference to that grant. Unfortunately, that grant will not cover the entire portion for the Evolve machines for 12 elementary schools, but it would cover approximately half. So we, as a district, are continuing to look for grant opportunities to fund the Evolve machines for our elementary schools, because we believe that our elementary schools need that same level of security that we have been able to provide for our middle and high. We also have emergency red panic buttons in all of our all of our schools, with the exception of City. With City moving to the community college campus in the mobile unit, we have not yet had the red emergency button put there. But the good thing is that they are on the campus with the early college. It's there now? Oh, thank you. So we have, thank y'all. So we have it at City too as well. So that's a good thing. So the purpose of that red emergency button is that if an event was to happen at any of our schools, they're able to press or pull the red emergency button, and it will send a silent panic alarm to all of law enforcement, to emergency management, and they should arrive on scene within a couple of minutes of receiving that silent alarm. I'm going to ask Mr. McQueen if he would come and speak about the light speed email filter that we currently have in place.
Yeah, good evening. I'm Tremaine McQueen, the Executive Director of Technology here. And what he meant to say was light speed alert. system, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. But again, good evening tonight, and I'd like to share and take a moment to share an update about Lightspeed. We recently rolled this out across our district, and this system is actually a crucial part of our commitment to student safety. And Lightspeed continuously monitors student online activity for any signs of bullying, any signs of self-harm, or anything like potential threats. And so what is real unique about Lightspeed is the ability to send real-time alerts, allowing school administrators to quickly respond and also to take the appropriate action. So we're really confident that this system will not only enhance our ability, but also protect the students and also create a safer and supportive environment. Thank you. Anything else? All right.
For some of the soft target measures that we have in place, all of our schools are expected to complete safety drills. Those drills would be fire drills, lockdown drills, tornado drills, and tabletop exercises. We also have the Say Something Anonymous reporting app that is for our 4th through 13th grades. This system is monitored 24/7, and it allows students to report any situation that they deem may be harmful to themselves or something that may be happening in the school setting. Once this is reported through this anonymous system, there's a group of individuals at each school who's responsible for receiving an alert, and those individuals follow up on those anonymous reports. In the event that it's on a weekend or it's at night and a school or a student has made a report that someone has mentioned suicide, then we call that a life-threatening situation. That the group who's monitoring that report will reach out to school officials to try to receive help in getting the correct address, parent name, so that they can make contact with local law enforcement to go to the home to address the situation to make sure that the student is not in danger. And we have had several of those on the weekends and at night where law enforcement has gone to the home and a child was in a crisis situation. So this anonymous reporting system, although sometimes students use it for ill intent, we believe that it also serves a good purpose in helping save children's lives. Mr. McQueen, you're back up. Rave.
All right, I'm lucky tonight, yo. All right, so talking about the Rave Panic button. This is a new program that we also implemented this school year. And so what this actually is an app that teachers install on their phone. And in that app, what it does is instantly notify emergency services and key personnel and other designated responders in the event if there was any kind of crisis, like a fire or a active shooter or anything on campus. And so the speed and the efficiency of this tool ensures that everyone is alerted simultaneously, which reduces the times and it ultimately saves lives. So, but as we continue to prioritize the student safety, the Rave Panic button plays a vital role in ensuring that we are prepared for any emergency situation. Thank you.
And Rave, this is the second year that we've been working with Rave, and so we are still learning some things through the system. We're working with the emergency management with the 911 call centers in the county and the city of Rocky Mount. They believe that it is an efficient tool as well. And as we continue to use this and better learn the system, we believe that this will be another great tool to help us in terms of school safety. There's also the school safety plans that schools have to complete. Those plans are completed within the school risk management portal. This gives law enforcement agencies and emergency management access to these school plans in the event of a school shooting or another emergency. We also have a district safety team. That team is used sparingly throughout the school year to help make decisions about school safety initiatives or school safety matters that may come to the surface that need to be addressed. So some of our mental health preventative measures and other preventative measures that we have, one is the school-based mental health program. You all have heard us mention this several times over the course of the past 4 or 5 years. Our school mental health school-based programs have been in place now since about 2019, I believe it was when we started having school-based mental health programs. And all of our schools have access to a school-based mental health program to provide mental health services for students who may need them. And in some instances, when working with students, we find out that there are other family members who are in crisis and who are in need as well, and it also serves to make resources available for those family members as well. We also have SEL programming, therapeutic drumming. Therapeutic drumming is something that we have found very instrumental in helping our elementary children to deal with managing their emotions. SEL stands for Social Emotional Learning. This is a program that we have at our elementary, middle, and high schools, and it's either through curriculum, lesson, or some sort of program, and it helps students develop skills and knowledge to manage their emotions, build relationships with others, and also make good decisions. The other thing that we have in place is risk assessments. We used to refer to them as threat assessments. But the truth of the matter is that, well, there's some people in our buildings who are licensed, but most are not licensed to do an actual medical threat assessment. But the state has put a tool in place that allows us to do a risk assessment to determine the level of risk that may be in place if a child says that they're going to commit suicide or if they're going to make a threat to others. And so based on the level of risk that is decided by the team, parents are always made contact with to make them aware, but in some instances, we make reference to the parent that the children may need to be seen by a medical professional. And this is just back to Evolve, just to remind you all, single lanes are at our middle schools. If you would just remove one side of this, that's what a single lane would look like. At our traditional high schools, there are dual lanes. And then at City, Early College, and TRA, Tar River Academy, they have single lanes as well. This year, because we moved Edwards from a middle school to an elementary school, and we lost Parker Middle School, we were able, I think we were freed up, with City moving, it freed up 2 Evolve machines. And so we were able to move single lanes to Southern Nash High School and Northern Nash High School. So those 2 high schools have the dual lane at the main entrance, and then they have a single lane at a secondary entrance. We would love to have that for all of our high schools and some of our bigger middle schools, but again, at the end of the day, it all comes down to cost. And of course, what would we do without our trusty school resource officers? We have 4 middle school SROs, it's 1 per school. We have 7 elementary SROs, 1 SRO serves 2 schools. In the city and in the county both, there's an SRO who provides services to a school every day, that same school, whether it's in the morning or in the afternoon, and then they float throughout the county or the city to provide services to a elementary school that may not have an SRO at that time, or in the event that someone is out at one of the middle or high schools. We have 5 SROs that are assigned to our traditional high schools, 1 per school with the exception of Rocky Mount High School, where there are 2 SROs assigned there. There are 2 SROs assigned to Tar River and Rocky Mount Middle School, which are on the same campus, 1 per school. And we, this year, for the first time, We have assigned an SRO full-time to the early college and to City. When City moved to the campus of Nash Community College, we felt, and along with Dr. Honeycutt, that it was in the best interest to have a full-time SRO assigned there. Billis?
So we've just put a few slides up here about post-demerger. And just I want to give kudos to Edgecombe County Public Schools as well, because it happened. It was seamless transition. It worked. We've had a very good conversation back and forth. If they need something, we need something. And it was just it was a lot to do, but I just want to give kudos to Edgecombe because we are now demerged. So what a lot of people have asked is, so what does your enrollment look like? Let me see if this I knew that's a link somewhere. It doesn't look like that. And if we can't find it, I believe I put in your slides, you should have a count, an ADM of each school. Is it in the back? I think you put it in the back. So what you'll see is the numbers as of, I believe it was our 20-day numbers for each school. And when we were really projecting based on the demerger, based on us moving lines, we were pretty good on the numbers. So it kind of worked out. We've shifted a few teachers based on enrollments in certain schools, but what I've given you is our probably 20 or 30 day count now. So that is the ADM. And the other slide is just the rebranding. What you'll see now is just a different look. This is our new logo. I just encourage you to go to our website. I think this is the third one in 3 years. I pray we stick with this one. So what I wanted to do right now is just go over a few highlights. And one of the highlights in our Human Resources Federal programs is we were awarded the, there it goes, $1.4 million 21st Century Grant. That's for 3 consecutive years, and that's going to be able to have the Boys and Girls Club at Bailey, Nashville Elementary, Middlesex, and Spring Hope Elementary. I'm just going to highlight a few. Your packet, this is our second year of the Village program, which is our male mentoring leadership program. We now have 83 students involved. That was a very successful program last year with our numbers. For Student Support Services, Stronger Connections Grant, you'll see that's a $670,000 total grant for 3 years. That speaks to what Dr. Farrell was referring to with mental health, behavior support, and you'll see some of the other grants that we've received. And also, I hope you take the time to look at some of the national awards and state awards we've received this year. School nutrition, I probably should have put this with Ms. Miller's slide, but I'll be the one to get to say it, is all our students are eating free this year in Nash County Public Schools, which is a big thing for us. We are CEP district now, so. And going back to some of Chad's accomplishments in CTE, we had our first Nash County Public Schools Career and Technical Education Expo, and I believe a few of you attended. That was a big success for us. Another one was our back to school fair, and I'm thinking we had about 1,000 parents and students strong. When you run out of bingo cards and food and hot dogs, you know you were a success and it worked. We just hope that Nash Community will invite us back next year because I think we trashed the place. But it was a good, exciting event, and it was something we haven't done in a long time. And this is a big one. Southern Nash Middle School grant was awarded. I believe it was about $40 million. We're in our discussions right now of when we're going to build that and where. So that was a big surprise for us that day when we received that grant. And I could be up here all day talking about all the big things because, you know, I can talk. I can give you a whole bunch of highlights. But we shared this video with our board probably during our retreat. And like I said, I think all our cabinet could talk about how good we think we are and all the academics and everything we do. But the state superintendent sent us something that they did at a board meeting for the state school board. And Tremaine, if you can get that video on 1 minute and 45 seconds, I'm going to be quiet and let you all hear it. What you want me to do? Oh, I was about to say, I'll mess it up. You don't want me to do it.
County schools. So Camden County schools performed above the state average, above the state or above benchmark percentages in growth in all grade levels and subgroups. So they had significant growth from the beginning of the year to the end of the year in K-3 overall. And their African-American students had significant growth from 30% beginning of the year to 73% end of year, which is a 43% increase. We know that when this work is implemented with fidelity, which is definitely the case in Camden County schools, that that significant growth is made. And this was a district that had turnover in district leadership, and their curriculum and instruction and early literacy specialists were really able to make sure that there was consistency in processes and that and that they really stayed the course. So congratulations to Camden County Public Schools. In the North Central region, we wanted to highlight Nash County schools. So Nash County school students performed above the state or at above benchmark percentages and growth in all grade levels. They had significant growth from beginning of year to end of year in kindergarten through third grade, as well as their white, black, and Hispanic subgroups. Nash County schools have done an amazing job of getting into classrooms and looking at actually what's happening, giving targeted feedback, looking at how they can use their resources with fidelity. They've got incredible data protocols that all of their administration, coaches, teachers, that everyone is doing related to classroom needs. So they're just knocking it out of the park. So congrats to Nash County Public Schools.
So I'm going to take her quote. We have been knocking it out of the park. And we just want to make sure tonight we share that with everyone here because we couldn't do all of this without your support. So thank you for allowing us to share this information tonight. If you have any questions, we can start that at this time, and my group here, we could probably answer some of them.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
What do you think, what did you do to move Nash County ranking up to 8? At one time it was at 80 something.
So I think if you'll ask me, I think what we have started in Nash County schools is we have accountability standards. And we have high expectations, and We've started preaching that in the classrooms, in the hallways, and I believe that most have bought what we're doing, and it's working. It's not a magic bullet, but what we've done is we all have the same recipe at each school. And it's all about accountability, it's about growth, it's about being there. And we also have the same accountability for teachers as we do with principals and students.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say, does that also include teachers?
It should include everyone, including myself.
Dr. Ellis,
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to say, I think you all have done a fantastic job, but hats off so much to our teachers, our counselors, those who are right there at the school with the students. I think our teachers and our counselors do a tremendous job, you know, gearing our students to where they need to be. And I do want to say, I was at the event, the back-to-school event at Nash Community College briefly. I have never seen so many kids, little kids, in all my life, in one place. And they were happy, they were eager, they, you know, they just couldn't wait to get back to school, it seemed. So, you know, kudos to you all, you and your team, and to the teachers and the counselors.
And that's why, for the first time, I believe it was in 10 years, we had a convocation. And it was just nothing more but to celebrate all the staff members that are involved in all this, because that's the way we can thank them. And it was lighthearted. We talked about how, you know, board members spoke, and it was just a good thank you for everything you do.
Dr. Ellis, when you talked about the wanting at the, when you people talked about the wanting at elementary schools, did that go over pretty well? Have many parents concerned about it, or did everybody buy into it? I'm just wondering what the feel was with the parents themselves when we started that.
I think we had one parent that called about, and I think that issue might have been that they couldn't go down the hall with the child. I really think that since we've done this in middle schools and the high schools, I think the parents are now understanding that it's just a safety measure. And when we wand, it's, you know, I think Dr. Farrer could speak to it better than I could, but it's a random wanding. You know, you're picking certain classes, it's so indiscriminate that it's probably not, to me as a parent, would be that worried about. But I do think, and as Dr. Farrer spoke about, having the same type of system in the elementary schools probably would be easier than doing some of the random wanding. I know you could speak to some of that wanding.
I think Dr. Ellis is right that there was minimal parent concern that at least got back to us. I'm sure there was some concerns maybe around the kitchen table because you're talking about elementary children and small children. But also when we look back over our data, I think 2 years ago, we had 3 guns and they were all at the elementary level. And so when we talk about random wanding, we just want to ensure that there's a safe school environment for all of our children, regardless of the grade level. And we don't want to take anything for granted. The child who shot the teacher in Virginia, I believe, was a kindergarten student. So you can't dismiss the fact that just because they're elementary students that they may not have a weapon on campus.
Sometimes when you use the word random, there's questions about what that means. Did you run into any of that, and really what does it mean in this case?
We did not get a lot of questions about what did it mean. I think one thing that Mr. Ward and Ms. Finch were able to do was help us get out on the front end of it by communicating to parents that this was coming. Mr. Ward even, in a conversation with me, Dr. Ellis advised us to hold off a couple of weeks in doing so, and then the principals also asked that we do that to give us time to communicate with the parents so that parents understood what this process would look like, give them time to internalize it. They could speak with their principals if they had questions. So I don't think there were as many questions about what random meant as parents just had some concerns about their small children being wanded and screamed. But one of the things that Dr. Ellis and I talked about, if you go to any type of event now, if you're going to an amusement park, if you're going to any type of concert or anything for the most part athletic event, that this is a way of life because of the threats that exist in our society.
Well, with the parents, do you let them know that there's some responsibility that they should take on in school safety, especially the children bringing weapons to school, whether it's a knife or a gun?
Absolutely. And you know, and that's a conversation that you have to try to manage gingerly. There are some things that Mr. Ward and Ms. Finch and I have talked about in terms of communicating more with families about the importance and their role in school safety, because it's not just what we do at the school, but it's also what we do in our communities and in our homes.
Yeah.
Commissioner Harrington?
Yeah. Well, I want to thank the Board of Education, the staff, and everybody that you always give a good, detailed, in-depth report. I appreciate that. And I just have one question. When you, it's safety related, when you say that all doors are locked, I don't know whether you need to expose your system, but how do you know, for parents, how do you know that a door is not cracked with a rock or something, or that it's actually locked?
So I'm a recovering high school principal of 11 years. And a month or so ago, I bet my paycheck on something as related to transportation. I'm not gonna bet my paycheck on this because I know what happened at high schools. Sometimes children sneak out of doors. Sometimes adults say, I'm just gonna run to my car and run back and I'm gonna prop this open. So I'm not gonna say that it's not done. What I will say is that we send a message to our principals, and we have one of our principals in here who can attest to that we send a strong message that they should make sure that their buildings are secured, that they should reiterate to their staff on a constant basis that not to prop doors open, to remind their students not to prop doors open, and remind them of the safety hazard that it could be if someone decided to do something egregious.
I was just thinking when you were making the presentation relating to mental health. I noticed you mentioned the sheriff, law enforcement being involved. To me, it would be more profitable to have mental health specialists ought to be a part of the system.
So what about?
Because there's I see people walking around and looking normal, and they look normal, and they have mental problems.
Yes, sir.
And I think a good mental specialist can pick up on that.
Yes, sir. So fortunately for us, we do have mental health specialists in our school district. The part that I was referencing was in this anonymous reporting system. In the event that let's say a child makes an anonymous report that one of their friends has stated that they're going to commit suicide. The individuals who are monitoring that reporting system will then reach out to the individuals for that school who has been assigned to be the contact people. And you have to have at least 4 individuals. And so we have asked our schools to make sure that the principal and assistant principal, a counselor, social worker, or school nurse, and the SRO is a part of that team. And so then they reach out to those individuals because they're trying to get good contact information for the parent. They then reach out to law enforcement to do a wellness check on that student to make sure that the student is okay, to inform the parent of what has been reported. But we do have mental health specialists working in our school district, and also those mental health specialists who are part of the mental health companies who provide the services.
Do they visit the classroom and maybe just sit in the back and just observe?
Well, no, that would be a whole nother, a process that we would have to get into. But what we've asked our schools to do, we have a pretty good process in place, because we've been doing this for quite some while now. And what we have done is we've asked our school counselors, school nurses, school social workers, our school psychologists who work with the principals and assistant principal, is that if they see a situation, or even if they're aware of documentation that has been given to them from a parent, that a child is having a mental health crisis or have mental health needs, then they then refer that child to our mental health personnel who provides those services. And the parents have to be involved and give approval, of course, before anything is done as it relates to providing services.
Well, I think y'all, based on your presentation here, I think y'all doing a good job. But I always tell myself, there's still room for me to improve. There's still room in any program to improve.
Absolutely.
Mr. Leggett or Commissioner Outlaw, anything y'all like to ask or add to comments?
I just give y'all high praises and thanks for the work you've done, the remarkable improvement, and your efforts for keeping us involved and updating.
And I would just echo Commissioner Leggett's comments. Thank you for your good work. Appreciate the update that you give us.
Dr. Ellis, I don't know how to ask this question, but I can't figure it out. How do we get from where we were on these test scores to where we are? Are we following a national program, or we just, first of all, I know a lot of it has to do with the superintendent we have, there's no question about that in my mind. And apparently the people that you have put in certain slots. But it still seems to be almost a miracle to me where we were and where we are today. And it's been noticed, I can tell you that, in our economic development meetings, in talking with people occasionally. In fact, within the last 2 weeks, I was in a meeting, and there was a family there that was going to be moving here for a certain industry. And they started to ask about the school systems, and they stopped midstream and said, really, we've already done a homework on that. And they made comment about what the improvement had been in 45 years. And of course, they asked me, what do we do to make that happen? So what would be my answer for that moving forward, other than yourself, which I know you don't take it like that, but still, a strong leader is where it starts at.
So I think I have a great team.
Absolutely.
If I was to ask, if someone was to ask me, so how in the world are y'all doing this in Nash County? First, I have a great team. I got an experienced team of those who have been in the classroom, who've been principals, who've been, well, excuse me, they've been high-performing principals. And that helps.
That's a major key, have a good team,
So
working together.
then I would just say, we focus on teaching and learning. And we focus on accountability, high expectations. And we try not to let schools be on an island. Everyone does the same thing. And we basically, they're accountable to grades, attendance, and we monitor it. And we put necessary people in place. If Bev was talking about mental health, if we have issues at a school, we send someone over there. We have coaches, we have opportunity coaches. I mean, we've done a lot of stuff to support these teachers. Because we know it's, and to me, it's all about the accountability piece where it starts with me. Then it starts with my team, principals, and then it starts with staff. Because you can't put everything on the kids. It's not. So you can't do that. So I think we've all bought into this. That's not magic. It's just really focusing in on, so what do we want to be? And we talked about that when I got here. I said, we're not a low-performing district, and I'm not going to be one. So You probably could ask Ms. Nancy Smith over there, and she's gonna give you a whole lot of curriculum stuff, which I probably would mess up on. But I do think that we have a goal here at Nash County Public Schools, and we're gonna be the best. And by being the best, you hold kids accountable, you hold everyone accountable, and I believe it's working. Yes, ma'am, you sure can.
I think one thing that Dr. Ellis failed to mention is that we allocated our human and financial resources differently. And we ensured that we put our resources where the greatest needs were, and we invested in our folks who were closest to children. And those folks are not central office folks, yes. We invest ourselves with training too, but ensuring that we invested our teachers by training them to use evidence-based practices that work with children, and also we worked hard to build the instructional leadership capacity in our principals. So when they walked into the classrooms, they would know what good instruction looked like, and they felt comfortable giving teachers feedback to get better. And that's really what it's about. Investing grassroots in your people who are closest to the children.
I'll give you a hand.
I told you she could say it a whole lot better than me. But it's also because she was a heck of a principal. And she knows where learning takes place. And you're exactly right. It's in a classroom. It starts in the classroom, and that's where you focus on, is the classroom.
I think we've all known for a number of years what your greatest strengths are in Nash Public School System has always been your facilities team and your maintenance team. That just shows up so many times, and I, as a person who works in that field, know how much money y'all can serve by doing it the way you do it. Y'all keep on, y'all gonna catch up with them at these test scores. I'm gonna ask you a hard question. What do you think we'll look like in another year with test scores and then a second year out?
I'm not betting my paycheck.
I'm not asking you to bet your paycheck, but it seems like.
I tell you what, some have asked, is this a fluke? Well, this has been 2 years in a row.
That's right.
So it's not a fluke.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't just happen. And it was dedication on that group over there and what we believed in. And I think now, we've got a plan. And all we do is execute that plan every day. All right, Aiden. I don't know why you sat down.
Dr. Ellis.
She wants to hear, she's tired of hearing about facilities, wasn't she?
No, Dr. Ellis pushes us to have high expectations for ourselves, but also for students. So in my department, whether we reach it or not, we're gonna die trying to. We've set a goal that 100% of our schools will be schools that exceed growth or schools with a school performance grade of C or above. So that means it is our goal that we won't have any low-performing schools next year.
Good.
Before you sit back down, just in case. Are you all reaching out to teachers and counselors as well and having one-on-ones or group meetings with teachers and the counselors to find out their needs and what will help make them successful?
Go ahead.
Dr. Ellis has a teacher ambassador group, and through that group, he gauges what they feel they need to be successful in the classroom. But in our roles, we work most closely with principals to feed them so they in turn can feed their staffs.
Okay. But you do have that one group of teachers that you work with, and they kind of get with the other teachers, and, okay, great.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
So, I always go back to these advisory councils that we started probably 3 years ago. And the topic was grade promotion. So anytime you meet with students, they'll tell you the truth. And my first meeting was I think it was a 6th grader. And he said, Dr. Ellis, I want to know how can a kid fail every subject in school and be promoted? So I wrote that down. So keep talking. We started talking about missing school and all that kind of stuff. So I bring it back to cabinet, then I bring it to principal advisory council. Then we brought it to our teacher advisory council, principal advisory council. Then it went to the family ambassadors, which are our parents. That one conversation started promotion standards in Nash County Public Schools by what a kid saw that he was facing every day in his school. And he asked a very simple question. So that one conversation started all of us talking about, so where do we want to be? You know, what does it mean to pass or to be promoted to the 8th grade? And that started that conversation.
I would like to say one more thing, and give kudos to Dr. Farah as well. I do have a junior in one of your high schools, but I won't say which one because she don't like for me to identify her in her school. She thinks that puts her on a bad way, I think. But anyway, Saturday night, I asked her, I almost said her name, and I won't do that, but I said, baby, what's it like in school this year? And she says, it's different. I said, what do you mean it's different? She said, are you talking about academics? She says, no, the behavior is just different. I said, can you talk to me more about that? Because, you know, I like to understand. I said, I know what I asked you in the 9th grade, and I know what your answer was. What's the difference between today and the 9th grade? I mean, is it a certain group that's doing better? She said, no, everybody is doing better. She said, I can't tell you what it is. It's just a different environment there. She said, I don't have any concern walking any hall, any group of people or whatever. It's just different. So I don't know what you've done there either, but coming from, you know, a high school student, it says a lot that she feels that way. And that in itself is going to make people feel more comfortable in attending school like it's supposed to.
And in that same conversation, when we talk about student academics, the same conversation came with, why would a student who gets 3 days fighting at this school get 10 days at another? So when Dr. Farrell and I had that conversation, we then created a behavior matrix. And it has taken a while to really infuse that into a school because we were always doing something different. Every school had something different. And by this behavior matrix, you started saying, if I do this, this is what happens to me at Northern, Southern, doesn't matter. We're trying to be uniform and being consistent. And that one chart, I know, has really helped Dr. Farrow in what you were saying. Kids want to know what's expected of them. That's all it is.
And I just wanted to add to the conversation that we're having. My perspective is a little bit different because I was a teacher 4 years ago. So I was a teacher at Nash County Public Schools. And I can say with certainty, I'm not a teacher in the classroom now, but I have very strong connections and relationships with teachers and staff at schools. And the support and the structure of our schools now is so different. And actually, Dr. Ellis and I kind of came in almost at the same time into the board. So I can see the difference from when I was a teacher 4 years ago at the start of COVID to now. And I still have those strong relationships, and I still go to the schools, and I still have those conversations. So although I'm no longer in the classroom, I can still get a sense of what's going on from from that perspective. And I also have 3 children at 3 different schools in Nash County, and I can see the difference in when my daughter started coming from charter school here to where I have all my children here, and the support that they're given on the school level. And it comes from the staff, the central office staff, and it just trickles down from Dr. Ellis and his cabinet. So the support and the human capital being used in the right places at the right time makes a big difference.
Great. Madam Manager, you had a question, I think?
I did, yes. First, I'd like to offer my appreciation to you and your team. You all are making our community proud, and that's not something that we've been able to say in the recent years. So thank you for that very much. I agree with you and Dr. Honeycutt about the move of City High onto the campus of Nash Community College. I think that's a wonderful partnership, I want to know what Plan B is. We're not hanging our hopes and our prayers on a $22 million grant that he may or may not get to construct his health sciences building. So what is Plan B, since we know the clock is ticking on your modular
Plan
unit?
A, we don't have to worry about Plan B. The problem is Plan B, which to me would be, you would have to have a cap on City High, which would be
Right.
devastating to the program. It was, I believe in the charter, it said it would get 500 students. It's probably around 93, something like that now. We would have to put a cap on that, and then we would probably have to restructure some of our early college, because Dr. Honeycutt was gracious enough to give us probably 5 to 6 rooms, but you're right, he's packed too. So what we would have to do, Plan B is, I'll have to say, we'll have to cap City High.
So anything that the county can do to assist with the grant writing and support for that, or planning for other income streams, we need to have those conversations sooner than later. I mean, we're talking about workforce development, and that's huge, and there's so many opportunities there on that campus.
Great.
I know mobile units are not desirable, but it seems to me that would be a Plan B until this funding could become available.
I think there were a few concerns about the modular units
Well, but
the first time.
my point is you've got to show you can grow that program. And if you grow that program, you're going to get the attention of your state legislators, and that's going to give them more incentive to provide that funding.
Agreed.
If you just say, this is it, I've got nowhere to go, then I don't think you'll get funding.
And we're hoping that next year that's what we're going to say.
I think we've got a history when these two boards work together on finding funding. We seem to get a lot more done before we're like going into anything like that. But please keep us informed.
Mr. Short?
And I would say
Mr.
one
Belfield?
thing.
No, he's fine, let him go.
Well, generally the way we do, we let people talk, they talk, then we go back to the other one. Your call, you do it the way you want to.
Mr. Belfield, go ahead, sir.
That's fine.
Oh, I was just gonna say, public relations. You've done a good job here in 2 years here with the program you have. You want to make sure that the public knows about it and understand it. Because there are some people out there that think that, number one, the public schools now are not safe. And they're looking at private schools. And, but you got a good program here, and the public out there need to know it. And I wouldn't just put it out there one time, I'd just keep it going. Something good every month about the school system. The public ought to know. And I'll really be using the news media. I know when I was working there, that was one thing leadership told us. Use that news media to show what your programs are that you're in charge of. What impact is it making on the people?
Thank you, Mr. Bedfield. Let me I like to preach a little bit too, so I'm gonna try to keep it short, right? Wayne Outlaw knows that, so I'm gonna try to keep it short. One of the things, Dr. Ellis came on board in 2018. 2018, we were, am I not right with that? 2018, 19?
Don't mind.
Anyway, we were at low performance. When this board met to hire a superintendent, we were at a split. We had a conversation, Mr. Lamb and I had a conversation with Dr. Ellis. He says, listen, you're coming into an environment where this board is split 6 or 5-5. That's where it is. And this is what's going on with that board. Franklin and I had a conversation with Dr. Ellis. We told him exactly that. The expectation is that we're rated at 108, and you got to pull us out of that 108. Whatever it takes, you do your job. We do ours. Our job is not to micromanage you. Our job is to let you do what you do. Dr. Ellis has shown himself to do what he can do. It shows that for the last 5 years. That man right there, when he took on, where's Ms. Nancy Smith? Stand there beside him, please. He took up her, and he took a chance on her. A whole lot of folks didn't want her in there, but he took a chance with her, because he knew how good she was. We're seeing the fruits of that labor right now. Sometimes we gotta look beyond the trees to see the forest. Sometimes we get caught up in what we're doing and what we're thinking about, that we don't let him do his job. My concern is he's doing a phenomenal job. We need to find out how to ways, because we've been through 3 superintendents since I've been here, that he's not gone. That responsibility falls on the role of 11 people, at some point will be 7. Whether or not he's here or gone, you talk about 1 year, 2 year plans, he may not be here in 2 years. If something's not broke, why try to fix it? If something's working, make it execute and work it. I'm afraid if we do what we do, we might not be where we are 3 or 4 years from now. So all I'm saying is, great job. You guys are doing phenomenal. You know, I've always been in this team's group. I've been to every school in this district this year. What you said about your daughter, that's what the spirit or your grandbaby. I'm sorry, I put you as your grandbaby. What you said about your granddaughter, I experienced it. From the teachers to the students, football field, I've seen it. It's almost like a pet rally every day of school. It's a safe, it makes you feel good. It's almost like a preacher getting up to speak, get excited about it. You want to say, what, Dr. Ellis? Amen. But that's the way it is. I'm telling you, inside that school district, all of them. So I just want to say that and says, great job. I am proud to be able to work with you and your team and what you guys do. Angie Miller, that man back there, Mr. Fields, he don't say a lot, but I was with his group a couple weeks ago, and they were talking about a great job they're doing, and I applaud him for it. He sits back, and Angie does the talking, but he'll do the work. And I'm proud to co-labor with you. You are outstanding with you and your team. Not just him, but Dr. Ellis, all your staff. And I know you took a chance when you put certain people in roles that people didn't want them in there. But you said, I'm the superintendent, this is where we're gonna do it. And it shows. Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you.
And that's all. What hymn we gonna sing, Bill?
Amazing Grace. Because it is amazing.
How great thou art.
Hallelujah, that's right.
Any more questions?
Board members, any questions, Commissioner? Thank y'all.
Thank you.
If there is no further business to come before the Nash County Board of Education at this time, I move to adjourn the meeting.
All right, and likewise, I would entertain a motion to close the Nash County Board of Commissioners meeting at this time.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaw, seconded by Ms. Sarah, thank you. Any questions on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Stand adjourned.